Hello, today's video we have the following content.
Explosive. The truth behind the 500 million views and legendary kiss has finally been revealed. If the short drama market in 2025 was still struggling with traffic anxiety, then Wang Haozhen and Zhai Yiying's blood pact kiss was undoubtedly a devastating blow. In just 3 seconds, a single shot, it swept across the internet with 500 million views, dominating trending topics and keeping comment sections up all night. Some were completely hooked, some repeatedly skipped through the episodes, but few truly knew the price paid for this iconic scene. On the day of filming, the set was so quiet you could only hear breathing. At the director's command, action, Wang Haozhen lowered his head and bit his lip. To achieve the realism of the blood pact, he didn't use camera tricks or substitute blood, he completed it all himself. Once, twice, 3 times, a total of 17 times, the blood spreading under the lights, intertwining with the character's fate. The staff tried to stop him, but he just shook his head and said, "One more time, not ruthless enough." That wasn't acting, it was giving it his all. On camera, his eyes were uncontrollable, his breathing erratic, blood and tears mingling on his lips. Off camera, his lips were numb. But when the director yelled cut, Wang Haozhen didn't cheer. He turned and walked to a corner of the set, squatted down, and clutched the plastic blood pact ring tightly, gagging until his eyes were red. He vomited while laughing self-deprecatingly. This time, the audience should believe it, right? Of course they believed it. In the 1.23 billion views on Douyin, half the viewers were repeatedly analyzing the layers of that single tear in his eye. Was it despair? Resignation? Or love that couldn't be turned back? The other half were frantically asking, what exactly is that lipstick shade? But almost no one knew that for this role, he lost a full 8 kilograms before filming began. It wasn't to look good on camera, but to get closer to the character's sense of exhaustion. His pants were so loose he could fit 2 fingers in them, and his belt had to be fastened to the innermost hole. Every time he sat down, he had to take a deep breath first, otherwise he would feel dizzy and his vision would go black. Later in filming, he often suffered from hypoglycemia in front of the monitor, but insisted on not taking sugar, only saying, "This person shouldn't have the strength." The one who truly held back this outburst was Zhai Yiying. She didn't steal the spotlight, but her extreme composure made those 3 seconds of loss of control possible. In the blood pact kiss, her fingers trembled slightly, but she didn't back down. Her eyes were filled with panic, but with resolute acceptance. It was this performance of "I know it will hurt, but I still choose you" that gave Wang Haozhen's outburst a point of release. It wasn't a one-sided burning, but a mutual surrender to death. After filming, Zhai Yiying quietly handed him a bottle of water, offering no comfort, only whispering, "That last moment was so real." These words were more powerful than any praise. And so we saw, one shot, 500 million views, 3 seconds of footage, hailed as a masterpiece online, a kissing scene directly written into the history of famous short drama scenes. This wasn't a chance viral hit, it was the result of actors gambling their bodies, emotions, and dignity. When viewers flooded the comments with "so crazy" and "so daring," they were already giving the most honest answer. The market never lacks formulas, but it lacks real people, real pain, and real conviction. Wang Haozhen and Zhai Yiying proved this with a blood pledge kiss. True brilliance is never designed, but rather forged through gritted teeth and painstaking effort, drop by drop. What truly propelled this work to legendary status wasn't just a memorable scene, but Zhai Yiying's relentless, almost obsessive self-sacrifice. Her persistence was quiet yet sharp. Every day after filming, back at the hotel, after removing her makeup, washing her face, and changing out of her costume, the first thing she did wasn't check her phone, but open her well-worn character diary. The notebook was filled with dense annotations of emotions, physical reactions, pathological reflexes, and even breathing rhythms. She was afraid of forgetting the state song Huaiyan should be in at each stage, so she forced herself to live the character as a muscle memory. Memorizing medical terminology was the second shackle she added to herself. She recited those awkward and cold words until her tongue went numb. Because she knew that terminal illness wasn't something you cried about, it was something that slowly wore you down, suffocated by these small details. That day, she wrote, "Today Song Huaiyan secretly bought me stinky tofu again, but I can't bite it." The pen hovered over the paper, and her eyes suddenly welled up with tears. not for the role, but for that feeling of helplessness when even desires are taken away. For the crying scene the next day, she didn't design emotions, nor did she deliberately exert herself. She simply brought that regret of not being able to bite it into the shot. Her crying was restrained, intermittent, even her breakdown seemed cautious. The moment the emotions subsided, no one on set spoke. The director slowly made a kill gesture behind the monitor. It wasn't an exaggeration, but confirmation, this shot was perfect. What the audience saw was the shimmering lace on the suit, the cold elegance of the blood pact necklace under the lights, the miracle of 5,000 units sold monthly on the e-commerce platforms, but no one saw that behind all that glamour were only the traces of last-minute remedial measures. Hidden within the lace cuffs is a 7-centimeter-long invisible elastic band, not a design choice, but reality. Wang Haozhen lost a significant amount of weight for the role, her wrist becoming so thin that her shirt kept slipping down, requiring repeated alterations. The perfect fit off camera was actually a compromise made after countless trials and errors. The necklace, seemingly fitting her collarbone perfectly, was repeatedly adjusted during filming breaks to avoid emphasizing Zhai Yiying's prominent bone structure caused by chronic hypoglycemia. These details won't be included in the final cut. But it's precisely these elements that create the realism you see. Therefore, this drama's success isn't bitter luck. It's because someone, unseen, painstakingly worked themselves to the bone. When the hype fades and the trending topics disappear, what remains are only these moments that were truly taken seriously. 500 million views. This isn't just a number, it represents the vitality of 3,000 cosplay submissions. Wang Haozhen's bottom-of-the-class graduation grades have now been rewritten into an inspiring footnote thanks to this performance. Behind these massive numbers are the participation and emotional investment of countless real people. The production team dismissed the criticisms of the short drama. While counting their profits, they were already planning a spin-off universe, even meticulously crafting the trailer poster, black background with red text in the next life, "It's my turn to find you," a blood pact ring split in two, hinting at a dual male lead setup. They even came up with a CP name for the two male leads, and Zhai, and secured a spot on the trending search terms in advance. While viewers verbally criticized them for riding the wave of popularity, their actions spoke louder than words. They pushed the 30-minute unreleased director's cut to the top of the pre-order list, with comments unanimously expressing their anticipation. "Release it quickly, I only have 3 days of annual leave left." When I privately asked the producer if he was worried that excessive commercialization would backfire on the IP, he shrugged and said, "It doesn't matter, as long as the audience is entertained. Emotional value is also value." In the blink of an eye, the pre-sale link for the original novel was thrown at me, topping the new book charts on its first day, and the publisher's printing presses were practically smoking. The author rushed to write the epilogue overnight, depicting the scene of Song Huanian buying stinky tofu for Sui, the shopkeeper giving him 2 extra skewers, him whispering, "She can't eat anymore," and then burying the stinky tofu in a flower pot, the flowers blooming exceptionally beautiful the next day. This magical realism makes even the flowers seem to act better than people. Therefore, stop asking questions like why is it fantasy plus suspense plus sweet romance again. Platform back-end registrations for the same genre have surged by 40%. Capital is like sharks smelling blood. But I know that no matter how much you try to replicate it, it's difficult to recreate Wang Haozhen's 17 real bite marks, the moment Zhai Yiying's contact lens slipped, and the genuine stench of the stinky tofu, the genuine pungent smell of the snail noodles, and the actor's genuine vomiting. The novelty that audiences crave ultimately boils down to that living, real feeling. Data can be faked, but that living, real feeling cannot be replicated. I've already snagged tickets to the fan meeting and plan to bring a bag of stinky tofu to the event in January, not for fan support, but just to ask Wang Haozhen, if there really were a next life where he had to find you, would he still be willing to bite himself 17 times again?
Thank you for watching the video. If this is your first time watching a video, please subscribe to the channel, like and leave your comments to help us develop your channel.